Up next, go behind the scenes with Montgomery County's public safety teams.
That's why we set up the folding tanks.
Crawl. Heel.
Keeping citizens safe is a priority for the Montgomery County government, but with a population of nearly 1 million people spread over 500 square miles, it's not always simple. Hello, I'm County Councilmember Phil Andrews. As the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, I see firsthand how our public safety departments operate. Did you know there are more than 3,000 public safety personnel working in many different county agencies? From fighting house fires, to overseeing community events, to making sure the courts are safe, to protecting our streets, these brave men and women, and animals, often put their lives on the line for us. We appreciate the work they do, and in today's show, we'll show you how they train for the job.
When they have to go through a window, which happens a lot on the street, they're more comfortable with it because they've done this early on in training.
The instructors are going to talk to us as we're going, give us instructions if we need to, push it more, back it down, something like that.
We'll drop in to see the Montgomery County Police Department, Fire and Rescue, the Sheriff's Office, and the Park Police. Let's start with the MCPD. The Montgomery County Police Department was founded in 1922. Headquartered in Rockville, it manages 6 districts and a special operations unit. It also provides aid and assistance to police departments throughout the D.C. metropolitan area.
Hello, I'm Captain Nancy Demme, the director of the Police Training Academy located in Rockville. The Montgomery County Police Department is made up of about 1,100 officers and 500 support personnel. Here at the Academy, veteran officers attend 3 days of in-service training annually. We try to ensure the training is relevant, challenging, and substantive. The current academy is almost 50 years old. We're now in the design phase of a new academy, which is scheduled to be complete in spring of 2014. New police recruits go through 27 weeks of rigorous training to include law, firearms, emergency driving, defensive tactics, report writing, and community policing.
Today, the recruits are working on pursuit driving. Since I was a very young person, I like cars. I like driving. When I was on the street, I always pushed it. Back in the day, I'm assuming 20 years ago, okay, this is the car, these are the keys, you go. After some time, I think it was in the year 2000, I went to the collision reconstruction unit. That unit investigates all the fatalities in the county. Somebody dies, we went there and we did the whole investigation. And that really opened my eyes. And that shows you why people wreck, why they lose control, why people get hurt. Today, we talk about our statistics. How many collisions do we have last year? How many collisions involve cruisers? How many of those collisions were at fault? Why are we getting involved in collisions? The statistics, so we make sure that they understand everything. You heard me earlier, how many times I said you have questions? Any questions? If you're not sure, ask. Ask me any questions, make sure you ask. Any questions?
My name is Steve Califerai. I'm a retired Montgomery County police officer, and I currently come up here to volunteer and help Officer Carvajal with his defensive driving and his pursuit training. They come here with a certain skill set, and they come here very eager, and I've never seen a person come here totally reckless or totally unclear of what that person needs to do. So they're at a point now where they're absorbing all these and tweaking their current driving skills. And that's what we're doing up here, is we're just kind of adding on. We're teaching them now, instead of wrapping their hands on their steering wheel like this, that we teach them, like students are being taught in high school, driver ed, to do a shuffle steer, which is kind of a push-pull. We teach them to properly look further beyond the hood of the car to get the whole scope of what's in front of them. We're reinforcing all the basic skills that they've learned from their parents or from these driver training programs, and right now we're putting it here in a very concentrated effort to make sure that we put out very clear people and very, very competent, I should say. And you see that first cone there, it's called an apex cone, and at that point there, based on the training so far, they need to accelerate somewhat to the outside position, and at that point there, they're going to demonstrate their braking, and then to do so properly, that'll enable them to come into that first left-hand 90 turn and keeping it close to the apex, which is the point closest to, or the apex of that turn there, the peak of the turn, and then to being able to properly negotiate the turn, go in slow, accelerate at the apex to make them go out fast. Going slow to come out fast is pretty much.
Our police cars have nothing different than what a civilian car will have. The only difference that our cars have is that they have a better or a bigger alternator, because we have computers and light equipment to feed. We have a heavy-duty brakes and heavy-duty suspension. These recruits have been taught that we don't catch the bad guy because we drive faster. We tell them kiddingly, any fool can step on the gas and drive fast. That doesn't make a good driver. It's a technique they use, so we're working on the technique. We're just having practice different diagrams. Drive, find the limitations to see what it feels like to drive these different vehicles that we have, and hopefully put some sense into them that not everything is high speed. We don't call our class high speed, it's pursuit driving. You can pursue somebody at 20 miles an hour. Threshold braking is long, steady pressure on the brake pedal. Okay, we have ABS brakes. What we want them to do before they make a turn, we want them to slow the car down. If they take turns too fast, they lose control, and the cars will skid towards whichever direction they're going. Right now the recruits are going to be doing some driver training, pursuit, same as we did earlier. The difference is that now the light is going away, so they're going to have to adjust speeds versus with the conditions. The darker it gets, the less they see, the more they should slow down, but the techniques should remain the same. Okay guys, don't forget, close to the cones, close to the cone.
It gives them an opportunity to practice in the evening with adverse conditions, so they have to realize how to prepare for any type of braking, road handling, and slick conditions. So it's a great learning experience for them.
Well, this is my first experience with night driving, so I mean, it definitely puts a little thrill into the situation rather than just, cruising around during the day. So.
It was good. It was interesting, a little bit more difficult without as much light, kind of incorporating more stuff in than we did before, but it was definitely interesting. It felt pretty good.
You can sit behind a desk and, do numbers, or you can do this. I mean, that's not really an option for me.
Yeah, we get paid to do this. It's actually pretty important. They're driving 10 hours a day, chasing the bad guys. Make sure they don't injure themselves or the citizens.
Montgomery County's Department of Fire and Rescue employs 1,300 career uniform personnel and civilian staff and an equal number of volunteers, nearly half of whom are involved in emergency response. We caught up with firefighting units from Damascus, Germantown, Laytonsville, Billsville, and Gaithersburg as they practiced fighting fires in rural communities.
We are at the Germantown Rec Park by the soccer complex. There's a couple different water supply drills. This one is known as a tanker shuttle water supply drill.
With their crew.
And what our purpose here is not only to sharpen our skills and practice, but we also time these events because our goal is to sustain at least, at the fire scene, 500 gallons of water per minute. All right, so this is what we call the fill site. So either we get our water from either a hydrant or a pond pond, swimming pool. Once we establish the water source, the tankers will come from the fire scene where they actually, that's called the dump site. They'll come in here. There's a blue section of 4-inch hose, so we could actually fill 2 tankers at the same time. They'll hook up to the supply, they'll hook the supply line into the tanker, the back there, and when they're ready,
get on the blue.
The guy over at the Siamese will go ahead and charge this line here and go ahead and fill the tanker.
On! Ready? Watch your legs.
All right, we're going 3/4 of the ball. Yeah.
Ready? Watch your legs.
The whole purpose of the drill is to practice water supply in rural areas. We call them rural areas, but really it's any area that does not have access to a fire hydrant. Generally what we do is we set up these folding tanks here, called folding tanks or portable ponds, and that's the way we can kind of warehouse the water on the scene until it's needed. All right, so this is what we call a tanker. Carries about 33,000 to 3,500 gallons of water. I mean, basically their job is to bring the water to the scene, dump it, and then go and get filled up.
On a normal fire ground situation, we would have, it's about 45 to 50 personnel.
That's a lot to manage.
That is a lot to manage.
Command all units, we're about the 45-minute mark.
Keep it there, shut that down, and come assist me up and protect us.
All right, so what the tanker's doing, he's dumping his load. He can dump, that's a 10-inch square dump. He should be able to dump upwards of about 1,500 gallons per minute, and that's about half his load gone in a minute. So hopefully he can cut loose in about 2 minutes and head back to the fill site. And that's the advantage of having these things on wheels and having them moving instead of sitting on the scene. Looks like things have settled down. Command engine 734. I may need you to increase your flow by another 250 gallons, but don't do it yet, just stand by to do that. All right, so this gentleman's job, he's running the engine that's drafting or sucking water out of the folding tank. And he's sending it up to the units that are directly engaged in the fire attack. And again, that's a pretty intensive job because he's got to worry about which tank they're dumping in, and it's his job to make sure that the supply to the scenes, that they don't really notice any differences. Those engines up there are simulating the actual attack. So if there was a house on fire, it would be up there. And that's generally the way we do it. We have one engine who's drafting out of the folding tanks, and that's what he's worried about. And the other crews up there are worried about prosecuting the fire attack. And the way we usually run it is we'll have two engines. We'll have two engines and a tanker go immediately to the scene. That provides us with enough water to start the fire attack while everybody else concentrates on getting this set up.
Firefighter when you grow up?
Yeah, when we grow up.
When you grow up, yeah? What about you, Connor? You want to be firefighter too? Yeah?
Hold on.
We get the heavy water off for you.
Just about 45% of Montgomery County, I think the latest figure was 45%, does not have hydrants. Of course, that's mainly to the north and the west in the agricultural reserve areas. So it's not a high population area, but it's spread out.
Our goal is to respond to no fires, even though, you know, that's kind of that is our job. We do this because we love to do this. We don't like to see the loss of life or property.
Sean, good on the blue.
It's more of an art than a science, and so by doing it, we kind of learn by doing. Particularly people that don't do it every day, it's just a chance to say, oh yeah, this is what we should do, and hopefully when the real call comes around, you know, you don't have the same issues.
The Sheriff's Office is the oldest law enforcement agency in Montgomery County, founded, believe it or not, in 1777. Today, it is charged with the job of protecting our courts, serving warrants and subpoenas, child support enforcement, and domestic violence intervention. The Sheriff's Office employs 180 sworn officers and civilian support staff. Dogs? There are 4.
I'm Sergeant Joseph Stanton from the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Canine Unit. I am a handler as well as the trainer for the department. Well, I had dogs, specifically German Shepherds, since I was a little kid. When I got to the office, started in like 1986 is when the Sheriff's Office started the canine program. I kept working towards it and working with dogs in hopes that at some point maybe I'd have a shot at becoming a handler, and I did. Crawl, heel. It's something I really, really enjoy, working with the dogs. It's fascinating, and they're just great partners. Our #1 responsibility for our canine unit is explosive detection, and that is primarily for the Judicial Center. Bomb threats, suspicious packages, anything to do with explosive detection, we run those calls throughout the county and are sometimes even called out of the county and the state. Each one of our cars are equipped with some really special equipment, one of them being a remote door opener, so that if I'm out of the car on a traffic stop or whatever it might be and I end up in trouble and I can't get back to my car, the dog, I can release the dog to come to me to help. Come! It's the one thing the dog is trained to do without command. If he sees me in trouble, he's trained to come and protect me. Good. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good boy. Kennel. Hup. Stay. This is one of the training grounds that we use in the county. This is the NIST Center in Gaithersburg. This is what we use most of the time for the new classes. Today there's actually a class that has just started a few weeks ago. So they're in the very early stages of training. This is to basically train the dog that the handler is the leader and the dog isn't. You don't want a dog that's pulling you forward. It's not about really tight obedience at this point. It's just the dog is not forging ahead. These guys all really look good. This is getting the dogs used to walking near each other, so they're weaving in and out of each other. You want their focus to be on you and not the other dogs. Generally, the dog doesn't like having the muzzle on his face because he can't use his mouth. They move fast to keep the dog from using his paw to try to bat the muzzle off. That's why you'll see some of them moving quicker than others. We need them to be able to wear these comfortably. Woo! For things like going to the vet, if you have to put a muzzle on, You need them to be able to walk in and be comfortable with it. Generally, most of the dogs in the county are imported from Europe, and the reason for that is the breeding there is much more strict, and we generally get healthier dogs. Two main types of dogs that we use, German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois.
Okay.
The dogs go home with the handler each day. When they're off duty, they're just another member of the handler's family. It takes a huge bond between the two to work as a team. You know, the dog will put his life out there for yours. The police dogs in the beginning aren't always comfortable going through a window, through a space like that. When they have to go through a window, which happens a lot on the street, they're more comfortable with it because they've done this early on in training. Interesting thing, the chain link, a solid surface is easier for a dog to jump over. When they can see through it, it's more challenging for the dog. They think possibly they can go through it. So it's another one of our hurdles. Hop, hop. Finish. In this case, if I'm tracking a criminal, I come across a very high fence. Obviously, we both can't go over it at the same time. I may have to send my dog over first, make him stay on the other side while I climb over to get to where he is. Up. Stay. You know, we're not sending the dog in there to do the job himself. We have to do some of the thinking for the dog, and the dog has to trust the handler a lot. It's beyond what a normal pet would be for a person, so it's a really important bond between the two. And we need him to be able to stay there. Even though it may not be his favorite place in the world to be right now, he'll stay there. If you see a handler with a police dog, you should never approach it. If you want to ask questions about the dog or talk to the handler, you should ask them first, because many of them are trained to bite, and because they're trained to protect the handler, they could take it as a threat. So they're not sure, so you should always ask first and not approach, especially from behind. In training, it's pretty likely you're gonna get bitten. It's usually not anything real severe, but just because even just playing with the ball and the dog trying to get it back, they're really high energy dogs. They're not trying to hurt you, but accidents do happen, so you get a few scars in training. Kennel. Good boy.
Animals are also used to protect our parks, and that job falls on the shoulders of the Park Police Equestrian Unit. They're part of the Montgomery County Park Police, which has 92 sworn officers and 21 civilian personnel. The mounted unit trains at the Special Operations Section at Woodlawn Manor Park in Olney.
Column of fours! Column of fours! Ho!
This is the Montgomery County Maryland National Capital Park Police. This is our training facility, our horse mounted training facility. Today we're conducting our regular in-service training for horses we have in the spring and the fall. And we've got about 25 horses here today. We have a combination of our horses and Prince George's side, because we do a lot of details together and we train together. So we train over there sometimes and they come over here. So we have 6 of their officers, and we have Baltimore City training with us today as well.
Rick Pelicano is teaching the recruits how to do formation work, and the reason that's really important for a police force is that when they're doing crowd control or parades, they need to learn to work closely together and not kick or buck or sort of get frightened by being in close quarters.
We use formations for tactically for crowd control and for parades and for just moving. When you have a group that large, you have to move in some kind of order so you don't look ragtag. So we do our formations, and they're all based on the United States Cavalry training movements.
They also need to respond very quickly to their riders and just walk very quietly in a very tight group.
We're going to move up to our training ring, and we have some obstacles up there. We'll be training our horses with some obstacles. Horses are often frightened of things that we might not be. Noises, visual things they have to step on, so we're going to be doing that. And we're going to introduce some simunition training today too, which is firearms training. So I got to get up to the ring.
Thanks, we'll see you up there.
Okay.
So the purpose of doing sensory training for the horses is to get them acclimated to things that normal horses aren't usually exposed to. Due to the nature of our job, they have to go to places like downtown, to the fair, to carnivals, to different community events that have things like fancy guys and moon bounces. So we all do all of our training in a controlled setting where we can kind of use the horses to help each other, and we kind of figure out what they're comfortable doing and work off of that. So that way we know when we take them out, we can gauge what we should maybe stay away from and what we can try to get them to get a little bit more involved from and keep the public safe.
So they're just blowing bubbles, it's floating. You can see the horses are very interested in them.
Why bubbles? Just anything?
Anything.
This guy over here in the Tyvek suit is because if we're in a situation where we have the horses and there's a biohazard, they do a decontamination of horses and people. This is just kind of get horses, so that the horses are used to things touching them from either side.
Step, step.
Pool noodles kind of simulate arms reaching out. That can be very startling for the horses.
You don't want to shoot your horse.
Horses are herd animals. They rely on each other, and we'll usually bring a horse that's been there, done it, and it doesn't really care, and that'll be the new horse's buddy. It's like girls going to the bathroom. I need a friend. So, yeah. Speaking for our agency, the Maryland National Capital Park Police, all of our riders are assigned one horse. We do develop a relationship with the horse, and again, knowing what they can handle. So we have some horses who are so good about everything, and there's that one thing that they really hate. So we know, by assigning the horse to the rider, they do develop a relationship. They know what their horses can handle. They know how they're going to be in certain situations, and that way they're not going in blind.
You guys haven't done sim yet, right? So I'm just going to give you, so you'll know what you're doing. Part of why we're doing it is because the horse is moving under you. So if you line up on that target and your horse's head comes up, don't be firing the gun and shoot your horse. So part of this is acclimating you to where your horse is going and not indexing your horse.
Thank you, sir.
8, 8, and 8. They're actually weapons that are similar to what we use, but they fire little paint balls. So it's a good acclimation with a horse because it's not that loud, because horses don't typically like loud noises. So it's a good training to acclimate them to firearms, as well as the officer using their firearm on horseback.
Hey, Janine, you want me to go?
So how was it out there?
It was okay. It's the first time he went through it. He'll be all right. He survived. You're a good boy, Bubba.
No horse is bomb-proof. No horse is gonna just come out of the bat and be like, "Oh, dancing guy, cool." They all need to be adjusted to it, and they all need to be acclimated to it, and get as much exposure as we can get.
So that's it for this episode. Thanks for being with us. If you'd like to see this show again or send it to a friend, please go to montgomerycountymd.gov/council and click on YouTube. To find out more about these agencies or start a career in law enforcement, go to montgomerycountymd.gov and click on Departments. We are currently looking for strong candidates to join our safety community.